So just to be clear, that album was an actual thing at that point. It was all finished, polished, and packaged, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're trying to promote the album. Now, here's the funny thing. So the third gig was Boston, and we're playing what used to be the Boston Tea Party, legendary room. And we had a road manager at the time, Tony the Newfie. And he was a good guy, you know, but he's trying to buffer the bad news from me. And he's doing a pretty good job. But we're in Boston. He's telling me, no, Jorn's going to make it. We got no problem. He comes up to me an hour before the gig in Boston. He goes, hey, Pally. I go, how you doing there, Tony? He goes, well, meet Tom. And there's a guy. I go, hi, Tom. Who are you? And he goes, I'm your drummer for tonight. I said, oh, Tom, what's the last gig you did? He said, well, I just got off the road yesterday. I did a tour of Japan with Bo Diddley. I said, okay, Tom, well, I guess we're going to play the blues. Because there's no time for him to learn anything. Mm-hmm. So we just went out and played the blues.
On a scale of 1 to 5, what was the level of freakout when you heard that at that point?
I think I was, as David St. Hubbins would say, if I wasn't so heavily sedated, I'm sure I'd been more upset. I just had to go with it. You know, okay. Anyways, we went out and rocked. Now, here's the weird thing. Tom, who showed up an hour before the gig, ends up being Tom Hambridge. Tom Hambridge, after my stuff, wrote and produced most of the first Susan Tedeschi album. And since then has produced albums for George Thorogood, Johnny Winter, and he's Buddy Guy's right-hand man. So years later, we always kept in touch because I think Tom did 3 or 4 shows with us. And she ends up with these crazy Canadians. We had this, it was a big black cube van that we had customized where you climb through the cab of the cube van and you go, we'd put a wall halfway through the big box at the back. And the front of the box we had bunks. And, of course, from Mike Gogo Cedar Sawmill, we had a bunch of tongue and groove. It looked kind of like a sauna back there, but we had these 4 bunks. So you climb into this cube van, and it was our version of a tour bus. So there's poor Tom Hambridge driving around with us for the next 3 or 4 shows. Anyways, we kept in touch. We ended up writing a song together in Nashville a few years ago. We actually wrote it for Johnny Winter, but it ended up on a Buddy Guy record. He sent me an email one day saying, hey, give me a call. He said, I'm producing the new Buddy Guy album. And they're looking for material, so I played them that song we wrote, and we just recorded it. It's going to make the new Buddy Guy record. So out of that weird, stressful, bizarre situation, I ended up with a friend in Tom, ended up with a song on a Buddy Guy record. But holy shit. I remember, I think the next gig was probably the Beacon Theater in New York. Like I say, I go outside, there's my name in lights on Broadway. We're backstage, and
they spelled it properly.
They did. They
Bonus.
did. And for any of you familiar with unions, the musicians union for any kind of stage workers in theaters is called IATSE. The Beacon Theater in New York City is IATSE number 1. These are some badass motherfuckers. And we're just these Canadian boys. We show up in the big black truck and back and start loading our gear out. They start yelling at us.
Oh, yeah, you can't touch that.
Freaking out on us, yeah. But we're backstage, and Satch, I got to mention, Joe Satriani was really, really cool. And I can't believe we didn't just get kicked off that tour, fucking up like that with the drummer and everything. Satch was cool. He came backstage and hung out with us. And the whole band, I mean, obviously, Jonathan Mover was great. And Stu Ham was on bass. Stu was cool guy to hang with. But, you know, there we are in New York City. And I think it's like Paul Stanley was backstage from Kiss, and John McVie, and it's just one of those things. But I remember we go out to play, and I'm already nervous because the second gig and with Tom and everything, and we're playing, but I notice I keep hearing this kind of a chant, and I realize I've got a Montreal Canadiens sticker on my guitar, and the crowd's going, "Let's go, Rangers, let's go." Yeah, just to add to the turmoil.
When you get a song on a Buddy Guy album, after that happens, do you spend the rest of your life getting up in the morning and walking down to the mailbox and fishing out royalty checks and then going back to bed?
Basically, yeah. Yeah, no. Do you know what? The only problem was if it was on a Buddy Guy record that came out 25 years ago, I would have made some bread. But these days, physical sales are just so low. Mm-hmm. Like, meaning people actually purchasing CDs. So the mechanical royalty, which means per unit sold, 25 years ago on a Buddy Guy record. Would have been some cash. Nowadays, not so much. But it was more just, I remember sneaking in to go see Buddy Guy when I was 16 years old at Harpo's nightclub here in Victoria and being thrilled to get to meet him, having no idea that, 30 years later, he'd record a song that I had a hand in writing. But it was just one of those funny things. I would have never met Tom Hambridge if Jorn hadn't have fucked up. That's the music business, baby.